Welcome into Pac-12 in review here on Sideline Sports Network. Yes, I am Michael Caratanudo, and man, what a weekend it was in the Pac-12. Whew. Yes, I had a boneheaded pick, and I say boneheaded, and it's not hindsight. Yes, that's why I say boneheaded, but you always want to. I don't know about picks again. To me, it's about the fun of it. Obviously, not telling people what to bet. I'm terrible with spreads. I've said that a zillion times on any show that I've done, especially this one. But that being said, it was an insane week in the Pac-12. It got started off on Friday night with UCLA hosting UW, who at the time was ranked 13th. And that one didn't go the way I expected it to. Then it started off in the morning on Saturday with Utah and Oregon State. yeah. Utes fans, hit me up at Diablo00. Utes fans, send me some smiley emojis and have some fun with it. Oregon Stanford, that was definitely that next game on Saturday. And then Washington State and Cal was a good game as well. And we had Matt Chazanow, the voice of the Washington State Cougars, on Friday talking about that game. And well, they definitely did. They got the bounce back win, and their defense showed out. Also, Arizona did beat Colorado, and unfortunately, again, struggles for Colorado. They are 0-5 to start the season. Head coach Carl Durrell. The second, I guess you could say, sacrifice loss in the Pac-12 coaching wise, and like I said, it's been a struggle for a few years at Colorado. So he unfortunately is let go, but the Wildcats improved to 3-2, 1-1 in Pac-12 play, and USC takes care of business at home on Saturday night, the last game in the Coliseum over ASU that wrapped up this week's play. So a lot to get to in this show. And yeah, we'll start with the Friday night game between Washington and UCLA at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. And it was one of those things where where games, I should say, where when you look at it, it ended up being a close game. Washington made a heck of a run in the fourth quarter. That defense, again, showed out, holding UCLA scoreless in the third quarter. And when you look at it for Washington, again, Michael Penix Jr., the transfer quarterback, and he looked good. Going back and watching this game, and didn't get to see it live, but I watched it live with being able to fast forward a little bit through commercials. But looking at that game, Michael Penix Jr., 33 for 48, 345 yards. He had 4 touchdowns, but he did throw 2 picks. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR, man, 24 for 33 for the Bruins, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also added 53 yards on the ground and 1 rushing touchdown, did Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And he was able to, again, control the game. The fourth quarter, and I'll get to that in a second, obviously, in a minute, didn't go their way. But, you look at what he did, and Jake Bobo, the wide receiver, 6 catches for 142 yards and 2 of the 3 receiving touchdowns from Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So for Chip Kelly, it says kind of that year in UCLA at 5-0 now, 2-0 in conference play. Yes, they did open up against Colorado and dominated Colorado. So if you're figuring they should, they do that. But then they come back to host a Washington team that's again, that was rolling, was undefeated as well. Battle of the undefeateds there. And the offense has that kind of performance against the Huskies. And when we look at the rankings too, this is the AP. Well, UCLA is not in the rankings. Or no, they are. I'm sorry. They jumped to 18. Pardon me. Well, I was looking at a different team in the Pac-12 who I'll get to in a second. That's not in the top 25. But yeah, UCLA did jump up to 18 in the rankings with this victory over UW. But yeah, and Zach Charbonnet, I better not forget to mention him. Going back watching this game again, they stayed. Chip Kelly. Everybody thinks Chip Kelly and what he did, at Oregon and the up-tempo offense, going up-tempo, not letting teams substitute in that, they're just hucking the ball over the field. Yes, he's had quarterbacks that could do that, but it's all based off running the ball. You're spreading teams out, and can you get the run game going? Well, Zach Charbonnet, again, 22 carries, 124 yards, 5.6 per touch, and he added a rushing touchdown. The 2 rushing touchdowns, obviously, like I said, Dorian Thompson-Robinson had the other. But you look at what he does, what Chip Kelly can do offensively, and again, the high octane offenses. Everybody says, "Oh, it's not going to work." Like when he first went to the NFL, when he went to the Eagles, I was like, "Oh, you can't just pass the ball 50 times a game." It's people obviously back east, and I'm not, me, I love to pick on Eagles fans, but a lot of people not having seen a ton of Oregon, understanding that yes, college football is about passing. Yes, Oregon did throw the ball, but look at the running backs that Chip Kelly had there. Again, don't need to give you a history lesson, but that's that. So again, you have a dominant runner like Charbonnet, and you're going to feed him. The offense is predicated. Yes, you spread teams out, but you have to be able to run. Yes, if they're going to load the box up, if they're going to take a chance and play man against the kind of receivers and tight ends that Chip Kelly has, well, good luck with that. If you're going to load up the box to stop the run, you can commit to that and most likely do it, but it's going to be tough. So they look good Friday night. I mean, to overstate the obvious, the only quarter where they didn't look good is the fourth quarter as we look at the Huskies and what they did, because UCLA was up 9-7 after one. They were up 26-10 at halftime, and then they were up 40-16 at the end of the third. And you're thinking, man, UCLA is blowing out the 13th ranked team, or the 15th ranked team at the time, 15th ranked team in the country. And they're just going to cruise. Well, Kalen DeBoer, the head coach of the Huskies, whatever he said at halftime may have not fully worked, but whatever him and his coaches said at the end of the third quarter going into the fourth actually worked out, because the defense pitched a shutout. Washington outscored UCLA 16-0 in the fourth quarter. And again, 345 yards passing, but here's where UCLA got him. Washington was not able to run the ball consistently on this team. I mean, Michael Penix Jr. had 6 carries for -1 yards, but that goes to UCLA did have had 1 sack, 2 tackles for losses. But again, to stay that disciplined on defense and only give up 65 yards rushing, Wayne Talapapa had 10 carries, but for only 48 yards, and they had no rushing touchdowns in this game. So he was their leading rusher. Richard Newton got another 4 carries for only 16 yards. But man, if you become so one-dimensional, and when you get behind, again, I can understand. I know you guys are everybody saying, Michael, what are you thinking? They were down. They had to chuck the ball around. I'm talking about the first half in the game, the first quarter when you're in the game. And for UCLA or for Washington, going away from that, yeah, we saw, I said, what Michael Penix Jr. did. I mean, the 2 interceptions, not great, but yeah, 33 for 48, 345 yards. Most days you'll be like, man, I'll take that. But DTR only had 33 pass attempts. They had 33 rushing plays and 33 passing plays. Pardon me, 33 passing plays for UCLA, 39 rushes. My point to Chip Kelly again, and especially if you're running the ball with that kind of success, Charbonnet's getting 5.6 a carry. Dorian Thompson Robinson, like I said, had 10 carries for 53 yards. He's getting 5.3 a carry. So it's this UCLA offense is going to be, they stay like this, it is going to be very tough to deal with going forward. But are the Huskies out of it? No, absolutely not. Their defense, we saw what they can do. I mean, a team that had 8 sacks against Stanford. Yes, the offensive line at UCLA doing a better job, and obviously DTR getting rid of the ball quick, Charbonnet running. It's a lot tougher to pin your ears back when a team is so balanced like that, and you have a quarterback like Dorian Thompson Robinson. Interception wise, though, John Vaughns had 1 interception, and Stephen Blaylock had the other pick for the Bruins. And yeah, just like I said, going back watching the replay of the game, because full disclosure, I was actually calling a game, so I could not watch this live. But going back to watch it, just how UCLA's defense handled Washington, especially in the second quarter where they built that lead. And Washington's offense, again, moving the ball, but just not able to convert. So when we look at it, it's one of those things to me where for Washington, yeah, it's a hiccup. UCLA is a good team. I know I thought I picked Washington to win this game. I thought it would be 40-32. I mean, a 1-score game, but I thought it would be, with both teams' defenses, I thought it would be a teeny bit lower scoring. But for Washington, you can rebound. You have the defense to do it. Michael Penix Jr., again, the transfer from Indiana, offensively has shown what he can do. But, you're predicated on turnovers in Washington and no interceptions. And pardon me, and they didn't recover any fumbles. So that's, to me, that's one thing when I looked at it, UCLA, and you always hear coaches say, we got to win the turnover battle. And why do things become cliche? Because they're absolutely true. Boring, yes, but true, absolutely. And UCLA did that. You forced the 2 interceptions, and Michael Penix Jr. did fumble once, but Washington recovered in the game. But yeah, like I said, that second quarter, because you're 9-7, and then all of a sudden it's a 17-3 quarter in favor of UCLA, and then 14-6 in the third. You hunker down in the fourth. They got a little stingier with the run, and yeah, UCLA had a lead, and you're figuring, oh, college kids, but Coach DeBoer's not like that, or Chip Kelly's not like that. I mean, he's going to keep the foot on the pedal, and again, not to run the score up, but just your players are going to be sharp. But Washington made that run in the fourth quarter. The Bruins able to hold on. But yeah, they get shut out 16-0 in the third quarter. And yeah, Penix did have to, like I said, chuck the ball all over the field. But just really, really impressed with, obviously, Dorian Thompson Robinson, his 5th season. Is it his 5th season? I want to say his 5th season with the Bruins. Yeah, but he is just, again, with COVID and UCLA kind of having a down year last year for DTR, it made sense to come back, and obviously players getting the COVID extension for a year, but he's able to use that and come back, and man, he just looks great. So going forward, yeah, for UCLA, a 40-32 victory. And the Bruins defense, they had 2 sacks, 4 tackles for losses. But like I said, the 2 interceptions and just really frustrating the Huskies in the second quarter. And Michael Penix Jr., like I said, throwing the 2 interceptions. And it's to me, you can say, well, yeah, the difference of the game, but yeah, their offense gets it, and when their defense is balling out, and hey, UCLA had the game plan to do it, and it worked out quite well for the Bruins. By the way, the standings, real quick, in the Pac-12, I should have said before, after this weekend's play, UCLA still undefeated, and they are, but USC is 3-0 in conference, 5-0 overall. The Bruins 2-0 in conference, 5-0 overall as well. Oregon 2-0 in conference, 4-1 overall. Utah 2-0 as well, and they're 4-1, as is, well, Washington State's 1-1 in conference and 4-1 overall. Cal is 1-1 and 3-2 overall. The Huskies 1-1 in conference, 4-1 overall though. U of A, Arizona, they are 1-1 and 3-2 overall. Oregon State 0-2, and Oregon State, Arizona State, Colorado, and Stanford. Well, Oregon State, Arizona State, and Colorado, are all 0-2. Stanford's 0-3 in conference play, and Oregon State's 3-2 overall. ASU 1-4. Colorado 0-5, and Stanford 1-3. So UCLA or USC sits atop of the conference standings, having played the one more conference game, having already beaten Stanford, like I said, in week 2 when we started the show, because USC and Stanford usually play early because both of them play Notre Dame, and that's both of theirs third in this form, since the Pac-12 has 3 out-of-conference game, but that's both of theirs third out-of-conference game. So they play early in the season. But yeah, USC sitting up top right now. So those are the standings, which I probably should have led with, but we're breaking down the games, and I'll recap those again at the end of the show. The next game we're going to get to was, yes, Saturday morning, the first game. And fans, I will look at you, knowing how both teams play and saying everything I said. It's like I talked myself out of picking Utah, because the way Oregon State's been playing, and again, Oregon State kept it close. But for Utes fans, again, you have my Twitter right here. You can please send me funny memes. It wasn't a pick out of anger or anything, or dislike or trash talking. So please feel free at Diablo00 to send me some funny memes and pick on me. Ask me what I was thinking about, Utah and Oregon State. Because yes, as you know, I always say I'm not, from like my good friend Eric Wilson, Sports Arena on Sideline Sports Network here, 10 o'clock Eastern, Mondays and Wednesdays. So, shameless plug, but check us out on the Sports Arena. But I'm not hard to find. And when I'm wrong and I make a pick, and I'm pretty much talking myself out of picking Utah at home, saying what Rice Eccles is and the stadium and how crazy it is and everything, I went with Oregon State because the way they've been playing, like what Justin Smith did. But I obviously say Kyle Whittingham, to me, is probably the it's close, but the best coach in the Pac-12 and in the upper echelon in the country, just because of the program he's built, what he's done. And yes, this was my reaction, because I should have known better. But we will hit that game next. Yes, Utah gets a huge, huge win against, Oregon State, and Cam Rising only had to throw the ball 25 times. I'll get to that why. So he was 19-25 for 199 yards and threw 3 touchdowns. Yeah, a very efficient and accurate day for Mr. Cameron Rising, who has just, again, since he got inserted into the starting lineup with the third game last season, he has just been on a tear, as has this Utah offense in general. Now, the other side, he was also their leading rusher. He had 7 carries for 73 yards and a rushing touchdown. Jalen Dixon had 1 carry for 22 yards and the other Utah rushing touchdown. But, man, what a performance by Cam Rising overall. Well, Cam Rising, yes, but the Utes overall, and Rice Eccles was just going crazy. The cool part to this was, for the Utah defense, there was not 1, not 2, Not 3. Yes, 4 interceptions. 3 of them by Clark Phillips III.
What if you were a global bank who wanted to crunch billions of transactions against thousands of compliance controls? So you tap
Adding
very-
a water flosser to your great brushing and flossing routine can be exciting.
Let's create smarter ways of
pulsating
The things I've seen wash out in my sink.
Invigorates your gum.
Apologies. Sorry about that. I had a lot of sound from other stuff that all of a sudden just came up. But if you're Utah, and pardon me, getting back to that, like I said, Cam Phillips III, 3 interceptions, 4 total. RJ Hubert had the other. And Phillips returned one of them for a touchdown. And that was the struggle of the game, because you look at Ben Gulbranson, pardon me, the quarterback for Oregon State, was 12 for 21, 177 yards, no touchdowns, and he had 2 of the interceptions. The other 2 went to Chance Nolan, who was 2 for 7, 26 yards, and the 2 interceptions. Silas Bolden had the 1 rushing touchdown for the Beavers. Again, it was just a dominating performance by the Utah defense.
What
But
if
yeah,
you were a gigantic snack food maker?
Bolden had 1 carry for 29 yards and a touchdown. So that was his only carry. But Deshaun Fenwick, man, 10 carries, 44 yards for him. Jam Griffin, who had the last few weeks, has been pretty solid. 8 carries, 42 yards, averaging 5.3 a carry. But and they did rush for 171 yards as a team, trying to get the run game going. But yeah, passing, I mean, 30 overall passing attempts for 246 yards. And you think, okay, 246, but the 4 interceptions, 1 return, like I said, for a touchdown by Cam Phillips III. And I just think, again, that is the just awesome name of the week to have that, or Clark Phillips. Sorry, I was thinking Cam Rising. Clark Phillips III has 3 picks, returns 1 to the house for the pick 6, and it's just a dominating performance at home. They win 42-16. Utah also shut Oregon State out in the 4th quarter, but yeah, it was 21-13 at half. So again, my pick wasn't looking too bad, but the unfortunate thing for the Beavers the rest of the way, they only put up 3 points. This was another dominating performance by Utah at home. And when you get a defense that does that, 4 turnovers, a short field. So that's why when you're saying, wow, Rising didn't pass for 200 yards, but he did have 3 touchdowns. He had a rushing touchdown. And receiver wise, I mean, Devon Veely, 7 for 194 and a touchdown. Jalen Dixon, 1 for 19. He also got into the end zone. And Dalton Kincaid, 3 for 17, but yet he also got into the end zone. So and then you have a defensive touchdown, and it's just that stadium is rocking. Utah's pretty much going to be impossible to beat there. It will take one insane performance to do that against the Utes. Yes, I am looking into the camera, telling you fans, it'll take a very insane whoever goes there the rest of the season, and we'll get to that on Fridays in previews. And I'll let everybody know at the end of the show who's playing who next. But yeah, I mean, Utah, I was just doing this all game long, especially in the second half. Like, what was I thinking? But hey, we're all allowed to have those moments. Utah obviously didn't. And Oregon State, again, they'll bounce back. It is just a tough place to play. And yeah, if you're, again, rushing for, like I said, 171 yards, got a lot of players involved. But I think Chance Nolan did get banged up. That's why that was the kind of quarterback carousel for the Beavers. So I'll know more about his status Friday, and we'll go from there. But for Utah, man, it is just lights out at Rice Eccles, and whew, like I said, they now are 4-1 and 2-0 in conference play. Are the Utes again? Their only loss to the Gators in the Swamp week 1, and it was a game they definitely could have won. They were driving to win it, and it was just a tough play at the end, interception in the end zone by Florida to close the game out. But they have been a team possessed since then, but Utah now in the rankings in the AP, they are now number 11. Well, the AP and the coaches poll, although I've always called it, I haven't said it on this show, but I call it the sports information, the SIDs poll, because come on, if you're a head coach of a team and you're getting ready and you're focused on your team and the breakdown, who you just played and who you're playing next. So of course you're going to see who won. And if you just go off who won a game, who's up and down, to me, it's one of those things where when you look at it, it's a SID's poll, but nonetheless, they say they call it the coaches poll for tradition. And, that is that. So Pac-12 wise, real quick, before I take a break and we get to the next, and I'll review this at the end too, but in the top 25 in the coaches, in the AP top 25, USC is the highest ranked at 6. And then we have Utah at 11. Oregon is at 12. Then we have UCLA at 18, and Washington didn't slide out. Surprising because, a Pac-12 school. But Washington down 6 spots. They are at 21. So they're down 6. UCLA was not ranked, so they're up to 18. They went up to 18. And then Oregon is up 1 spot. They went from 13 to 12. And they are right behind Utah, who's 11. And like I said, USC, the highest ranked at 6. So, again, a very solid showing for the Pac, as that is a top 25. But, hey, we're going to step aside real quick. When we get back, we will hit the rest of the games, but the game I will hit when we get back is the Washington State Cal game, which again, we had Matt Chazanow on, the play-by-play voice for the Cougs on Friday, and well, look at that, bringing them a little juice here on our Pac-12 football show here on Sideline Sports. But yeah, we'll talk Washington Cal, and we will then talk Oregon and Stanford after that. But we're going to step aside real quick here on Pac-12 in review, and we'll have, like I said, Oregon and or Washington State Cal and Oregon Stanford, the battle of the Phil Knight schools on the other side. Welcome back to Pac-12, the weekend in review. Here I'm Michael Caratanudo at Diablo00 here on Sideline Sports. So awesome. So happy to be doing this here on Sideline Sports. As again, I'll be with you every week as we talk Pac-12, big time performance review on Mondays, obviously from the games that were, and Fridays we preview the games, again, getting more guests on as we go through the season from different games, bigger games in the conference, but Friday's preview, Monday's review, and it's all about the Conference of Champions. So again, jump on in here on Sideline Sports, hang out with me, watch it. But yes, so did the first 2 games, Washington, UCLA. UCLA got that victory. Utah and Oregon State. Utah gets a dominating victory, dominating defense, and just very fluid offense, and they get the huge win. They get a big win, I should say, over Oregon State. But now, next up is the Washington State Cal game. And man, like I said, we had Matt Chasanow on the play-by-play voice of the Cougars for football, men's basketball, and baseball as well. And again, looking forward to having him on more as the season progresses for previews and reviews. You know, they get some big wins. We'll have to dial them back up and have them on here. But they are able to beat Cal 28-9. Are the Cougars, and you know, it's a 7-3 game at halftime, and then Washington State held Cal scoreless in the first. Well, both teams were scoreless in the first, but the first and the third quarter, 7-3 at halftime. It was 14-3 at the end of the third, and then it was Washington State outscored Cal 14-6 in the fourth, and that's where the 28-9 victory, how that came about. But yeah, for the Cougs at home, trying to, again, bounce back from that tough Oregon loss, 44-41 to Oregon last week. Well, they did. They get off the schneid. Cameron Ward, 27 for 40, 343 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions, but the Washington State defense, man, they bailed him out a few times, and throughout the game. But again, Cal does look improved. We talked about consistency for Cal. It's one thing we talked about, and I had asked Matt about, is that Cal, the one question for them is, can they be consistent? Well, Coach Wilcox has seemingly got them to a point to where they are. And the unfortunate thing is they couldn't get in the end zone once. Jack Plummer didn't have a bad game, 23 for 33, 273 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, I was going to say, but no touchdowns as well. So that is very tough. And again, back up at the Palouse, a tough place to play. And we see what Cameron Ward did. Like I said, it had the 2 interceptions, but again, throws for 343. They have 40 pass plays, 25 rushing plays, and Nakia Watson, 14 carries for 52 yards. Again, not the biggest, but what does that do? Stay patient with the run, chewing up the clock, keeping their defense off the field, but just opening the airways up for Cameron Ward, and it did that. Jalen Jenkins also had 5 carries for 41 yards, did have a rushing touchdown for Washington State. But yeah, overall, 25 carries for 72 yards. Cal defensively did have 1 sack and 4 tackles for losses. So, and when you see the rushing for Cameron Ward, he had 2 carries for -8 yards. So that took away a little bit, but still 25 rushes, to 40 passes. They want to throw the ball more, but they were able to do it. So they get the win. They hold Cal to 9 points. When you look at it, the 1 touchdown that Cal got was in the fourth quarter, and makes it 28-9. So, but we saw, again, 2 different teams they played. Obviously, Oregon with the offense, Washington State proving that their offense could go toe-to-toe with Oregon's offense. Defensively, yes, Oregon did put up 44. There also was and Washington State, they did have the pick 6, which was a difference in the Oregon game last week, but they rebounded nicely. And for Coach Dickert, and they are now 4-1 and 1-1 in conference play. This was a team, not UCLA. Washington State was a team, real quick before I get back to this game, that stayed outside the top 25. Oregon did get the win this week. So when you look at it, it's like, okay, well, Oregon got the win, and Oregon gets the win, and this week they lose by 3 last week, and yet seeing the bottom of the top 25, Washington State's right there first in getting votes. So they're right on the cusp of being in the top 25 as well. But in my opinion, yes, not even being a Pac-12 homer, everybody, in my opinion, they should be in the top 25 right now. But I digress. Back to the game for Cal. When you look at what they did receiving, I mean, Richard Bell, 8 catches for 115 yards, averaging 14.4 per snag, 1 touchdown for him. Robert Farrell, 6 for 79, averaging 13.2 per catch, and 1 touchdown as well. And then Billy Rivery, pardon me, the third, had 1 reception for 1 yard, but you know what? That was a 1-yard touchdown. So that man gets into the house and has the third receiving touchdown. And like I said, the 1 rushing touchdown for Jalen Jenkins for Washington State. But 28 points, you score. Then have Cal's defense again. They're showing consistency on the other side for Justin Wilcox. Like I said, that 1 sack in the game, 4 tackles for losses. And like I said, they did pick off Cameron Ward twice. Craig Woodson had one of the interceptions. Daniel Scott had the other. So they were giving Cal a chance. Washington State, again, no interceptions for Washington State. And it's, like I said, it's one of those things where you look at it and Cal, again, playing consistent. They're going to be in games. And through 5 weeks, again, I've been impressed. And, I know I've mentioned their Notre Dame game a few times, but yeah, I mean, it's a Hail Mary and a bobbled ball away from having all the momentum in the world, forcing overtime with Notre Dame and possibly getting that victory. So, they're 3-2 right now. Yes, they did lose to Arizona, and Arizona again put up 49 last week. So I'm not going to say they would have won that, but that bobbled pass away from being, 4-1 overall and 1-1 in conference play. So it's very interesting to me how, Cal, they're starting to answer that consistency question. And you say, well, how can you say that when obviously Arizona put up 49 on them last week? They did score 31. And yes, Arizona's offense made the plays, but fast forwarding to this week, again, not giving up 41, picking off Ward twice. Like I said, so yeah, we need to see they need to piece it together for 60 minutes. Again, more coach speak, right? I've been around it so much that a lot of times I say stuff. I was like, oh, coach speak. I'm graduating to that level. But putting together the full 60 minutes, capitalizing on the turnovers, which they really didn't do. And then defensively, just having to make plays, but offensively extending drives, doing those little things. But they're showing that as a team, you're not just gonna roll over them and be able to look past them. And if you do, and again, I said this on the beginning of the show, I said in all shows, at any level, if you're overlooking a team, especially in this day and age, or you're listening to everybody else, talking heads saying on paper, oh, this isn't even a game. If you overlook a team as a coach, which coaches I know don't, but as players, then that's on you. And you deserve to lose a game like that. So if you approach a game like that, but for Cal, again, you put up the 9 points, tough to beat, let alone anyone in conference, let alone anyone doing that. But again, they're showing steps. They need to yes, keep connecting the dots and consistency, but and get to that point. But they're going to be tough for everyone. They're going to beat a few teams, and that people look at. Oh, I don't know if Cal will beat them, but Cal's going to be right there. And their rivalry game with Stanford, that'll be very interesting this season. Again, fast forwarding way ahead. Don't want to fast forward too much because obviously love the college football season. But yeah, for Washington State, again, Cameron Ward keeps playing like that, and this defense, and they're going to sit there and pound the rock. To me, it's again 25 running plays, 40 passing plays, but they move the ball, they scored, the turnovers killed the drives, but they are showing that their defense is deep enough. And because sack-wise, they did have 4 sacks too, by the way. Sorry, Washington State. 7 tackles for losses. And that's what you need from your defense. So, and like I said, Matt talked about the linebacking core, just the way they're playing. So, yes, it's college football. Other teams are going to score, but to hold somebody to 9 points, I mean, literally in this day and age, that's like pretty much that's like a pseudo shutout to say the least. So, yeah, love what they're doing up at the Palouse, and they get the 28-9 victory over the Golden Bears to move up to 4-1 overall, 1-1 in conference play for Washington State. So, yeah, hats off to them, because the Cougs, like I said, they are the real deal. And talk about Cal being a tough out. If you're gonna beat Washington State, you're like Oregon. I mean, it could be a shootout, but you're definitely gonna have to earn it and hope you can capitalize on a rare mistake that they might make, but probably won't make. So that is that was again solid win for Washington State. And now the battle of the Phil Knight schools for everybody. Oregon takes out Stanford up in Eugene 45-27. Oregon, I mean, led from pretty much jump. It was 10-0 out of the gate at the end of the first. It was 31-3 at half. It was 38-17 at the end of 3. And then Stanford, well, the one quarter they beat them was the fourth, 10-7. It was 10-7, but 45-27 is the final in favor of the Ducks. And when you look at it, Bo Nix, again, I was hard on Coach Lanning and Bo Nix after that Georgia beatdown, again, because wanting the Pac-12 to win that game, but wanting Oregon to win that game for the Pac-12. But at the same time, I thought, wow, Bo Nix really struggled. And yes, he does have pseudo familiarity with Georgia coming from Auburn. His road at Auburn, a little bumpy, but man, you look at what he did: 29 pass attempts, 16 for 29, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. And even Ty Thompson got in the game. He was 1 for 5 for 3 yards. And unfortunately, he threw an interception, did Mr. Thompson, who's actually at a Mesquite High School here in Arizona, actually in Gilbert. Mesquite High School is in Gilbert. But Ty Thompson did get in the game. Bo Nix, though, I talk about what he did passing. This was insane to me as I'm watching
Over
this
100
game.
crispy old world pepperoni. Cheesy crust edge.
Bo Nix had 6 carries, for 141 yards, 23.5 per carry, and 2 rushing touchdowns on top of his 2 throwing touchdowns. So a Stanford defense that I said Coach Shotman was going to be physical. Yes, they were going to have their hands full. I could see him, maybe Bucky Irving going a little crazy like that. Bucky Irving had 10 carries for 97 yards. And I mean, that's still a heck of a game. 9.7 a carry. You're averaging just about a first down, an eyelash under a first down for a carry or per carry. It's insane. And then Noah Whittington had 11 carries for 66 yards. There was 4 rushing touchdowns, 2 by Nix. Sean Dollars had a rushing touchdown. He had 5 carries for 27 yards. And like I said, the score, Jordan James, 3 carries for 9 yards, and the other touchdown for the Ducks. But it was the Bo Nix show that Stanford could not stop. And I mean, even in getting to him, they did have 1 sack. Stanford did come up with 5 tackles for losses, but really could not get to Bo Nix that much. And again, when you carry it 6 times for 141 yards, yes, there were probably some breakdowns in coverage. I'm guessing 1 or 2 from watching. 2 or 3 of those were designed, and he just takes off and just scorches the Stanford defense, which, man, to me, like, wow. And I get Oregon is talented, and we saw, again, this is how good Washington State is, though, too, because, again, 44-41 the final last week. If Oregon doesn't get the pick 6, and again, you can say, I know it, and when I say if, it did happen. So it did happen. Does it happen on a normal weekly basis, a pick 6? No. I mean, for a team to get one every week, but Oregon won the game. But for Washington State, they traveled right back down and scored. They were driving down again. So you're looking at, if a 14, maybe even a 14-point swing for Washington State last week. But nonetheless, I digress to this game. So Bo Nix goes crazy like that. Stanford's defense has no answer for him, even in adjusting. And I'm sure Coach Shaw, at halftime, because I could see a lot of his facial expressions, even talking to the officials about some calls, and just frustration, yes, but disbelief and maybe even a teeny bit of shock. Not that Oregon's not good, not that Bo Nix wouldn't rush for that, but come on, 6 carries for 141, 23.5 per carry. Whew. And then you're, passing again, 16 of 29, just a little bit over 50%, only 161 yards and 2 touchdowns, but they had 34 pass plays to 37 rushing plays. And yes, why are you going to stop running the ball if they're not stopping it? So it was just that. And on the other side for Tanner McKee, again, not a terribly bad game. 19 for 33, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And Ari Patu was 3 for 5 for the Cardinal, had 39 yards, got in a quarterback, and he also threw 1 touchdown. Again, no rushing touchdowns, as Casey Filkins was their leading rusher, 19 carries for 80 yards. And it's a team that had 34 carries, yes, for 127 yards. So they did stay balanced, but Oregon's defense had the answer for pretty much everything. It's an Oregon defense that had 3 sacks, 6 tackles for losses. Like I said, neither team had an interception. So both teams protecting the ball, which I expect from both of these teams. But Tanner McKee, yeah, I said it was going to come to me. You have to, yes, be able to run the ball, but I thought it would come down to his arm. If they were to win the game, I did take Oregon. I got this one right. I got the Washington State one right and this one right. But if they were to beat Oregon, I said Tanner McKee again is going to have that kind of game, receivers getting open, but mixing in the run. And they did. They ran it 34 times. Like I said, Filkins, 19 carries for 80 yards, 4.2 per carry. And it's just, but it wasn't enough against this Oregon defense. And 332 total yards for Stanford to and this is crazy. So 511 total yards for Oregon. So 511, 332, you're like, okay, not bad, but yeah, 511 again. You see this all piling on against Stanford, and yeah, once it was again 10-0 at the first, it was 31-3 at half, 38-17 going into the fourth. And yeah, Stanford would have to climb a huge mountain at that point. Oregon, again, just being disciplined and finishing out the game, which Coach Lanning is doing ever since the Georgia game. They couldn't finish out. It seemingly never got started. And that's all credit to Georgia, but they're just Bo Nix is figuring this thing out. And I picked on him early in the season. I thought it would be, I thought Ty Thompson should be starting instead of Bo Nix, but hey, you do that against Stanford and you come out with that victory. And I did pick the Ducks, but I did not think it would be that dominating of a performance. And then, like I said, Bo Nix is rushing. I'll say it one more time again, just in case you missed it. 6 carries for 141 yards, 23.5 yards a carry, and 2 rushing touchdowns, along with 2 passing touchdowns for Mr. Nix. So, yes, Mr. Bo Nix, you had a phenomenal weekend, and you are my that is one heck of a performance as they get the victory there over Oregon. Again, 45-27 is the score there. Our next game up, was the second to, actually the Oregon-Stanford game was the last game. Well, either way, I'm going backwards a little bit, Miss Times. But Colorado, Arizona in Tucson, the Wildcats. Again, I talked about at the top of the show. What a phenomenal day for the Wildcats. And again, like I said, Jetfish starting to turn around. I talked about Cal and for Coach Wilcox being consistent. For Arizona, it has just been bleak. It has been ugly the last, I'd say, 4 seasons. 4 full seasons, it's been ugly for Wildcats. Wildcats fans can tell you about it. I'm not just piling on because I'm a Sun Devil. I'm stating facts. You could go, if you guys want to go back and look, I'm not going to waste the time here, but go back and look at Arizona the last 4 seasons before this. And yeah, it was a little bit of a train wreck down in Tucson. And Coach Fish doing a heck of a job turning it around. They get the 43-20 victory over the Buffaloes, like I said, down in the old Pueblo in Tucson. And yeah, they led 13-7 at the end of one, 26-13 at half, 36-20 at the end of the third. And then they shut Colorado out in the fourth, and they got a touchdown, 43-20. But check out this day. I talked about Bo Nix passing and rushing, obviously. Talked about Bo Nix doing that. Jaden DeLora, the young man, the quarterback for the sophomore for Arizona. This day that he had passing, and yes, I don't want to hear it's against Colorado. There are players across the line, across the field, trying to beat you down. Yes, as Colorado struggled, we mentioned how Coach Durrell got relieved of his coaching duties after this game, got let go, but got fired by Colorado. It has been tough in Boulder. I understand. But once again, they're still competing. But Jaden DeLora, 33 of 46, 484 yards. Yeah, let that set in. 484 yards. 6 touchdowns. 6 passing touchdowns. No interceptions. That was his day. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. And even against, I get what people are saying, but even against Colorado, to be that accurate, there's guys in coverage. I mean, yeah, he was scrambling at times. He made a sick touchdown throw. I think it was about a 35, 40-yarder that he made. And on the run, he was rolling out to his right. Then he had to come back to his left a little bit. I mean, look, this kid is showing that he can do it. Jaden DeLora, again, 33 of 46, 484 yards, 6 touchdown passes. So rushing wise, and this is a team that had 34 rushes, 49 pass plays, yes, but 34 rushes as well. And Michael Wiley had 16 for 77. People are like, 4.8 a carry. But DJ Williams, 6 for 39, averaging 6.5 a carry. Jonah Coleman had 5 for 31, averaging 6.2 a carry. Again, no rushing touchdowns this game. They were all through the air. And Jaden DeLora even had 5 carries for 28 yards. I think Colorado had one. Yeah, Colorado had 1 sack. They had 1 sack in the game. But man, I mean, you talk about an offensive performance like that. And then, okay, so receiving, Jacob Cowing was the lottery winner. He got 12 catches, 12 of the 33 completions from DeLora was to Jacob Cowing, 12 for 180, 15 yards a catch, and 1 touchdown. Dorian Singer, 9 for 163, 18.1 per catch, and 1 touchdown. Tairoa McMillan, 5 for 90 and a touchdown. Michael Wiley had 5 for 34, but 2 touchdowns. And Tanner McLaughlin had 2 catches for 17 yards, and he had the other receiving touchdown. So 1 each for Cowing, Singer, McMillan, and McLaughlin. Pardon me, McLaughlin, and 2 for Michael Wiley. I mean, that is just wow. Wow. And Arizona defensively, man, I mean, 3 sacks, 5 tackles for losses in that account. But man, just overall solid tackling group. Jerry Roberts had 7 tackles, but 6 of them solo for Roberts. But just overall great defense. I mean, and if you want to become a better team, you need to start beating teams that, yes, and I don't do the on paper thing saying, oh, they should beat them on paper, because like I said on the very first show, on this one, I've said in others before, there's somebody across the line from you punching you in the mouth. And yes, maybe they're not making the right adjustments. Maybe it's tough for them, but that is that. So hats off again, Jaden Delora, 33 for 46, 484, and 6 touchdowns for the young man, young quarterback from Arizona. Our last game, real quick. Yes and no, not saving the best for last, not because they lost, but USC and Arizona State. Southern Cal wins the game 42-25. Quickly, Caleb Williams, 27 for 37, 3 touchdowns, did have the 1 pick. Emory Jones, 23 for 32, 243, 1 touchdown. He also did have 1 interception. X Valade said he would have to be, I know, no pun intended, but the X factor, 13 for 64 and 1 touchdown for X Valade. Emory Jones also did rush for a touchdown. But yeah, the USC defense, you look at it, they had 5 sacks of Emory Jones, and that's been kind of an issue. 7 tackles for losses. I will say this: the USC offense moved the ball. Talked about it on Friday. They were able to move the ball. ASU moved the ball though on the USC defense, and to me, that's the one thing that, like, USC's defense can be had. I mean, to this point, the offense, again, does look good. They can run the ball. Travis Dye didn't have a 100-yard game. The ASU defense, I mean, USC moved the ball. And like you said, when Williams passes for 348, but the run was the issue. And we knew Travis Dye can move. Yes, Travis Dye did rush for 2 touchdowns, but he had 13 carries for 62 yards. So he didn't go over 100 for the first time in quite a while for Travis Dye. The one thing I will say for ASU where it turned, they were down 14-7, and Emory Jones picked up a first down. It was the first and goal, got called for a holding, and they ended up having to kick a field goal because it pushed it back.
What if you were a global bank who wanted to crunch billions?
ASU wasn't able to get into the end zone. To me, that call really, again, changed the ties. Not that USC wouldn't put up points, but again, ASU 42-25, they fall short. The Trojans, though, 5-0, like I said now, and 3-0 in conference play. And Caleb Williams, again, to his credit, obviously transferring in from Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley was his coach. He took over for Spencer Rattler last year at Oklahoma. He's looking more comfortable. He's looking very comfortable in the Lincoln Riley offense, but connecting with his receivers. I mean, I know I talked about Travis Dye, but I mean, Jordan Addison, I talked about this kid Friday. He's huge for them. 8 catches for 105 for Addison. Brendan Rice, 3 for 72. Mario Williams, 5 for 50, 1 touchdown. And Kyron Hudson had 3 for 46 and 1 touchdown. Malcolm Epps had 1 catch for 4 yards, but that 1 catch for 4 yards was a touchdown. So, for the ASU offense, Brian Thompson had 5 for 86. X Valade receiving, again, 2 for 29. Elijah Badger, 2 for 26. Got to get him more involved. Jalen Conyers, the tight end, 3 for 25. And Valade had the 1 receiving touchdown too. So he had one receiving and 1 rushing touchdown. X Valade, love this kid. And again, I think we see more from him. So ASU does fall to 1-4. Coach Iguano 0-2 in his first 2 games again, but Utah and USC right out of the gate. Again, the defense needed to tighten up a little bit, but for ASU, but for USC, again, it's very interesting. Again, with them going forward, because they, like I said, they are 5-0 in conference, and they're 5-0 overall, pardon me, and 3-0, like I said, in conference play for the Trojans. They do sit up top of the conference right now. So like I said, USC's up top, UCLA is right behind them because they're 2-0 in conference. UCLA, Oregon, and Utah all 2-0 in conference. Washington State, Cal, Washington, Arizona are all 1-1. Oregon State, Arizona State, Colorado 0-2, and Stanford the only 0-3 team in conference. They're 0-3 in conference. And like I said, ASU, Oregon State, and Colorado all 0-2. So all four of those teams looking for their very first conference win this week. And ASU has another tough one facing another ranked opponent. I know that much in UW. Yeah. So next week's schedule looks like this real quick. Utah, number 11, Utah at number 18, UCLA. Oh, that game is the 12:30 kickoff, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 here on Fox. So you want to check out, Chip Kelly, if your team's taking that step, here's your chance. Yes, you do have Utah in the Rose Bowl, but man, we know Utah, wherever they go, they pack a lunch, they pack a defense, and an offense. They just pack everything. So that'll be a very insane game. 4 o'clock Eastern kickoff on the Pac-12 network. Number 21, Washington, coming here to Tempe to take on the Sun Devils. Can ASU pull the upset, get their first conference win, and really throw Washington for a loop? Then we have, number 6, USC. They're home again. They're hosting Washington State. Oh, we'll get to that on Friday. Number 12, Oregon has to go down to Tucson and take on Arizona. Now, Oregon has had some insane games. They've won some high-scoring games, but they've had struggles in Tucson. We'll get to that on Friday. That is a 9 o'clock Eastern kickoff, 6 p.m. here on the West Coast on the Pac-12 network as well. Oh, the Washington State-USC game is also 7:30 Eastern kickoff, 4:30 West. That's on Fox as well. And then the Pac-12 After Dark, the nightcap, 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock here out west. Stanford is hosting Oregon State. So that'll be very interesting week again. But again, the highlight matchups, Utah at UCLA and Washington State at USC. And again, we'll see the steps Arizona's taking too, though. Like I said, Oregon at Arizona. But man, we will get to those on Friday. Thank you so much for joining me here on Pac-12 in review from the last weekend as we get to all the games. Got to all the games, and it was, again, a fun weekend. Only looks to get crazier and even more interesting next week. So join me on Friday, 1 o'clock Eastern time, 10 o'clock here on the left coast, as we like to say, and then Mondays and Fridays. So, yeah, we'll have a preview on Friday of all those games. Going to get out of here. But, again, thanks so much for joining, and I will see you guys all on Friday. Have a great week. Enjoy your football week, Monday Night Football tonight. But I will see you Friday here on Pac-12 Preview.